Hello and welcome back to Interviews With. I'm your host, BC, and we are at the beautiful Dawn Winery with the dashing and noble spindrift knight herself, Eula Lawrence. Eula, would you care to introduce yourself?
Captain Eula Lawrence, Spindrift Knight, Knights of Favonia's Reconnaissance Company. I extend to you my greetings.
If I understand correctly, you are part of the Lawrence clan of Mondstadt.
Huh? What's that?
The Lawrence clan, you know, you're a part of the Lawrence clan, right?
Yes, Lawrence, the evil aristocrats of historical infamy.
Evil?
Oh, we're still very much evil. Just look at me. I'm infiltrating the inner ranks of the Knights of Favonius, all as part of a diabolical plan to exact our revenge and reclaim our former glory.
As all the viewers at home can tell, we have quite a character on the show today. Want to tell me about why you actually joined the Knights?
The easiest way to destroy your enemy is to take them down from the inside, right? That's why I joined the Knights of Favonius.
Well, based on your track record, you have enhanced the Knights more than you've debilitated them.
Since I'm a genuine Knight of Favonius, I fulfill my duties like any other self-respecting individual would. Look, I may be a descendant of a disgraced ruling elite, but I'm not a total degenerate.
Oh, I certainly didn't mean to imply that you are. I would just think that you wouldn't actively help them with their duties. Speaking of duties, how do you fit in as a scout leading the reconnaissance company?
The role of a scout is to hunt down enemy troops, or fend off the enemy in side skirmishes away from the main battle. There aren't a whole lot of rules, which suits my style very well indeed.
Ah, I see. So not a fan of rules then. I would think that as a part of aristocratic society, you would be very fond of rules.
Aristocratic etiquette is all just for show. Just smile and nod along. I was forced to learn all of the rules by heart, but even I don't take them that seriously.
Ah, understandable, but I must ask, there must be some customs among the clan that are not so intense. What comes to mind as far as family practices that still interest you?
Not all customs of the Lawrence clan are despicable. At least the dance of sacrifice is pure and noble. It puts my mind at ease and gives me comfort. It's been years, but it's still dear to me.
Oh, it's very nice to have something to hold on to that is part of your family. Now let's move on. You received your invitation to be on this show because you have a cryo-vision, and we want to know a bit more about visions in general. Tell us why you think you received your vision.
Descendant of a depraved dynasty isn't the most flattering reputation to have. The only way I can shake it for good is if I keep avenging my kin in my own way. Those who desire vengeance need power first, so it makes sense that I would get a vision.
Ah, so you think that your vision is less a recognition of your deeds and more of a tool to help you achieve your ambitions. I must say that is quite fascinating. Well, would you like to share some of your experiences of Lawrence? Maybe people nowadays have a lot of animosity towards the clan, and I think explaining your experiences may help viewers at home take more interest in you. I mean, I can say myself that in many of our conversations you have been quite lovely. So please, tell us some more about life as a Lawrence.
The life of a Lawrence doesn't include much worth talking about. Basically, whatever you say, whatever you do, people will always despise you and treat you like a potential threat to society. It's nowhere near as bad as it used to be, though. Before I joined the Knights, good grief, I couldn't even buy groceries. Even Good Hunter and Mondstadt General Goods wouldn't take my money. I literally had to go out and hunt my own food and cook it over a campfire if I wanted to eat dinner.
Oh, that's really tough. Sounds like the people didn't recognize you very much as an individual. Has anyone given you advice on how to break out of that challenging image that you find yourself being seen as?
People tell me that if I just spoke more softly, or was more polite, or acted more deferentially, others may find it easier to forgive me. But the only reason they think that way is because they've never been branded a pariah before. There is no easy path to redemption when you're a social pariah. I'm more inclined to stop tiptoeing around everyone all the time and just get out there and make them respect me the old-fashioned way. As in, we square off, and if they win, I humbly accept my punishment. But if they lose, they must acquiesce to my demands. Such as... well, if I want to buy a loaf of bread, take my darn money for crying out loud.
So you make a good point there, I suppose. It must be very hard to be a Lawrence nowadays.
The name Lawrence only became a social stigma after the clan fell from grace. It was once an honor to be called a Lawrence, but unfortunately, most people have forgotten about that part of history. The Grand Master says that I am performing rather well as a knight, and that if it's not enough to restore the honor of the Lawrence name, it's certainly a strong rebuttal against the one-sided opinions so many people throw around. I'm quite satisfied with that appraisal.
That is fair enough. You can't convince everyone that your clan is not nefarious, but if you can prove that you yourself are not, I think that's a win in my book. Now, just so that we can have somewhat of a balanced opinion, I'd like to point out that there have been some times some very unbecoming actions have been taken by your clan. I believe you actually arrested your uncle yourself for involving themselves with the Fatui. What do you think you would do if the clan keeps following this trend?
If my family members refuse to change their corrupt ways, or worse, continue to cause active harm in Mondstadt, I should be the one to end them, along with the Lawrence name itself. For once, it'd be a family obligation I'd actually enjoy.
Fair enough. It's good to know that you will always have Mondstadt's back. Speaking of having Mondstadt's back, let's talk about your career some more. I would think you being a Lawrence, the Knights would think twice about bringing you into the fold. Tell me more about how you got into the organization.
The Knights of Favonius are actually fairly reasonable. At the very least, they reward merit and not social status. The reason they invited me to join their ranks is because I'd sparred with some of their crack troops and won through my own sheer skill. Being an insider in the organization will make getting revenge much easier, as it removes many of life's complications, so what's not to love?
What's not to love indeed? I mean, it's good to find that companionship. Anyway, tell me more about your missions and what tools you use on your missions, because I'm sure you have a lot of innovative tools at your disposal.
My bone whistle makes a versatile range of sounds, which comes in handy for confusing the enemy. I often use it to imitate the sound of the sea, which is where I get my title of Spindrift Knight. This despite the fact that the bone whistle is actually a Liyue tradition. But then again, no one seems to look too closely into that kind of thing. I mean, they took me on, and I'm an exile of Mondstadt, trained by an outcast of Liyue.
Oh, that's quite interesting. If I remember correctly, you actually are friends with a lawyer from Liyue named Dionfei. Is this true, and what led you to interacting with her?
This one's a long story. We ended up saving her life once when we were tracking down a batch of dangerous cargo that belonged to the Abyss Order. The Abyss Order had packed it up like regular cargo and wanted it shipped from Dornman Port to Liyue Harbor. She was acting as a consultant for the merchant vessel, where she discovered something in the cargo, and then began to investigate, putting herself in grave danger. Had we arrived just a few minutes later, it's likely she wouldn't have been so fortunate. We've kept in touch ever since. I like how smart she is. She knows the rules, but she also knows how to be flexible and act according to the situation. A few of the knights would do well to take a leaf out of her book. Also, with her smarts, maybe she could help me track someone down that I've been looking for. She does owe me a favor from last time, after all.
Fair enough. Let's talk more about some of your co-workers. I understand you're a good friend of Amber, right? What do you think of her?
Amber's someone who thinks for herself. On the day I first joined the Knights, she cleaned my dormitory and gave me a tour of the headquarters. And she's helped me with a myriad of other things in the time since. Now, everyone looks at me like the older sibling who needs the younger sibling to do everything for them. For this, she must pay.
Like the group mom, I suppose. Well, that's how friendship can be sometimes. I believe you also work under the acting Grandmaster Jean. What are your thoughts on your employer?
The acting Grandmaster's family and mine are sworn enemies. But she draws a clear line between professional and personal matters. She saw I was capable, admitted me into the Knights, and gave me lots of opportunities. So, when the time comes for vengeance, I'll afford her a reasonably soft landing.
Well, I'm certainly glad there is no animosity between you two. That could make work tough. And what about Grandmaster Varka himself?
The Grandmaster. He doesn't like to beat around the bush and has no care for rumors or trivial matters. A good guy, I guess. I sparred with him once, which ended in a tie, but his relaxed expression and leisurely attitude clearly indicated that he had been holding back the whole time. Such indignity. I will not let it go.
I got the playful vibes from what I heard of him, and yeah, anyway, what about the alchemist Sucrose? She is regularly in Mondstadt, unlike Albedo, so you must have dealt with her before.
The alchemist. She once gave me a piece of equipment and told me it would help me infiltrate an Abyss Order camp undetected. In reality, it caused a huge explosion that completely blew my cover, and before I knew it, I was being accosted by 13 Mitachurls. Afterwards, I marched straight back there, intending to make her pay for what she had done. But when I saw how panicked and sheepish she looked, and watched her post her results on the wall with the word fail, I couldn't bring myself to go through with it. After all, I didn't get hurt, just a little disheveled, and a little humiliated.
Oof, that's rough. Well, you still have to give credit where credit is due. While many of Sucrose's experiments end in failure, she does often contribute to Mondstadt in her own way. Well, I suppose that is enough about work. Let's move on to hobbies. What do you like to do for fun?
I'm into all sorts of cool things. Sipping a nice cold drink, sitting in a canyon feeling the biting wind howl past my face, or diving into the lake at the foot of Dragonspine.
Whew, chilly. I would not be able to stand swimming in Dragonspine. I'm sure you have had many troubles, as you have said before, but anything specific recently?
Sometimes, when it's busy in the tavern, they ask me to share a table with other customers. But once they find out that I'm a Lawrence, suddenly everyone gets indignant and provocative, and starts trying to bait me out in some way. I just want to have a drink. Is that too much to ask?
Ah, so you are an enjoyer of the local taverns of Mondstadt, are you? How do you get your drinks?
Technically, aged dandelion wine should be poured into a silver goblet and allowed to breathe for 12 minutes. Then you're supposed to add ice cubes, ideally so 60% of the ice is submerged beneath the wine. I refuse to do all that, though. It's not worth the hassle.
Ah, I see. Then you're not too picky. One of my previous interviews actually involved the Mondstadt wine industry. What do you think of some of the heavy hitters? Let's start with Diluc.
I don't get along with some of the knights, and he doesn't think much of them in general, so you'd think that would make us allies. But the way he always acts so aloof, he's even worse than acting Grandmaster Jean. I want nothing to do with him.
Fair enough. And what do you think of Diona?
Diona? She's a miracle worker when it comes to making cocktails, and to my surprise, we get along really well. She infiltrated a tavern with the hopes of tearing down the wine industry, while I infiltrated the knights to exact my revenge on them. A kindred spirit, it seems.
So, unfortunately, we have run out of time for today. Do you have any last words for our audience?
May the gentle breeze softly send thee into a sweet sleep.
How lovely. That will be all for this episode of Interviews With. I hope you enjoyed. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as ring the bell icon. I also have a Patreon to help improve the content and get your name at the end of the videos. I'll see you next time on Interviews with. Bye bye.